Welcome to another Overground Comics drawing tutorial. This is our second tutorial, Advanced Tips, Custom Brush Dynamics. We're going to talk a little bit in this one about using brushes to streamline your process. And just to be clear, this is not a video telling you to take shortcuts or skip steps, because it's really important to have a good foundation of being able to draw if you're going to do something digitally. Digital is just a tool. It doesn't make you a better artist. You always know what looks best, not Photoshop, and it can only help you get better at your process and not get better as an artist. So that being said, this that we're going to talk about is a way to save time professionally, because there are just some times when you don't want to spend a whole day doing something that you want to look pretty good for specific purposes. For this tutorial, I've got a quick sketch here of Bishop. You guys know Bishop from X-Men, and Bishop has a certain kind of hair. It's basically like a mullet, and depending on who's drawing him, well, when he first appeared anyway, this is his original look. He's got like kind of a wavy curly thing on top and like dreads or long flowing curly hair in the back, again depending on the artist. And for this drawing, I want to do kind of that mullet thing with the curly on top and the kind of dreads in the back. And to do that, I'm going to save myself a lot of time by using a custom brush. I could go through and just draw every single little curl around there, but that takes some time, and I want to really get this thing done fast. So I'm going to use a brush that I created, and creating a brush is pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the one that I created and show it to you. And if I just stamp it down with one click, it looks like this. And that's a pretty simple brush. It's just some curls that I drew to look kind of like hair. And if I try to use that as a brush just as is, it's not really going to be much of a help. It's just going to look a lot like a normal brush does. It's not very dynamic. But I can program this brush to do a lot for me. So your first step would be to actually create the brush. Once you have your figure drawn that you want to make into a brush, you just put a marquee selection around it, and you go to Edit and then Define a Brush Preset. Once you do that, just name your brush whatever you want to name it, click OK, and you have a new brush. It's that simple. And so once you have the brush made, I'm going to go ahead and select that brush again, and then I'm going to click on this little file icon thing over here next to your brush preset, and that's going to bring up your brush presets tab. You can also click it, by the icon over here on the right if you have, depending on how your Photoshop's set up. But with mine, either way, it's fine. With the last tutorial, we talked about taking the spacing of a brush down to 1% to make it thin and to make it very sharp. But we don't want to do that with this brush. I want this brush to not be sharp, so I'm going to leave that spacing at 25. Then I'm going to go into Shape Dynamics, and this is what we didn't do last time. In Dynamics, you have a lot of little sliders here that are going to allow you to play with the look of your brush. Without any kind of dynamics in effect, it looks just like it normally would, just in the brush tip shape section here. Once I start applying some dynamics here, look what happens to the look of the brush down in the preview there. I'm going to change the size jitter to about 50%. That changes up the size of the stamp every time it puts it down. I'm going to add an angle jitter of 50%, which turns the brush around as it's stamping it down. And then I'm going to flip X and flip Y, which means it, of course, flops it up and down, left and right as it's drawing. And look how different the brush looks now as it's going to be drawn. It has a much more random look to it. Now, for people who have more advanced equipment, like I'm using a Cintiq here to draw, I'm going to, instead of using that angle jitter, change it to a pen tilt jitter, which allows me to dictate the angle of the stamp of the brush just by turning my pen. And for me, that's better. If you don't have that, don't freak out. Angle jitter is almost as good, so you can still use that. But I'm going to go ahead and click on a saved version of the brush I made from earlier that has all these effects in place. And then just to kind of skip ahead, I'm going to show you another layer I drew here of some details for those dreadlocks that I made with another custom brush. And not going to get into that because it's basically the same effect, and we're just going to focus on the curls right now. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, and what we're going to do is that brush that before was just a stamp, now with all these dynamics, let's see what happens when I start painting with it. Start with his mustache, and then go to his little beard here. And I also have this set on some pressure sensitivity, so the harder I press down, the bigger the curls are going to be. The lighter I paint, the smaller they're going to be. And I want them small for those little details, so that's how I'm doing it here. It's just a light brush. But look at that random effect that we've got for this hair as I paint it in. It looks very natural, and the curls look very random, even though I'm using that one stamp over and over and over again. The variations in turning it, just from turning my pen, from lifting up the brush, from pressing down a little lighter or a little harder, adds so much variation to what those curls are looking like as I'm drawing them in, that you'd think I'd spend a whole lot more time than I actually did on this. And that's what we're trying to do here. Make a simple sketch that has some depth and quality to it that I wouldn't have had time to add without these kind of tools. So there we go. In just a couple of moments of explaining it, Bishop here has a nice full head of random curly hair. And it's that simple. It's not, again, it's not a substitution for knowing the best way to draw this stuff. It's just a way to, if you do know what you're doing, to maximize your time in order to be able to get more done and be more relevant out there, if you know what you're doing. So careful. Don't let these tools make you lazy. Let them make you more efficient, and use them in the right time. If I was going to draw a cover of this character, I certainly wouldn't use shortcuts. I would be very careful in how I draw it. But for a panel, for a simple piece, for a sketch, I can definitely make it a little bit more simple by using these dynamics. So hope that helps. If you have any questions about the process, make sure you comment here on the video, or you can go back and check us out on the Facebook page, or anywhere that you find Overground Comics. You can generally contact us there. So hope you enjoyed the tutorial here. We'll see you next week for another one. Thanks for watching.